Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me okay? Let me know in the chat before I get into it all. All right, I see some I don't know what the fuck that is flexing some arm flex emojis. But awesome. I'm glad you guys can hear me. All right, awesome. Let's get into it. Happy almost holidays. I How are we already a week into December? I feel like I say this every year, but it gets faster. It gets faster. Does anyone else feel like it doesn't quite feel like Christmas is a couple weeks away? Because I'm like, I just got used to it not being summer, I feel like, and we're here. So I want to talk about not backsliding because we have a couple things at play. We have the kickoff, remember, is Halloween usually, where our hormones are like, okay, it looks like we're getting ready for the holidays, right? That's when the first bit of puffiness usually shows up, the holiday puff, I call it. And then we continue on into November. We continue on into Thanksgiving, and I feel like no matter what, as soon as it starts getting dark super early, and then we have Thanksgiving, it's like this whole other mood that happens. And now, while usually there's some festivity that comes with that mood shift, I feel like there's not as much festivity this year. It just feels like it gets dark earlier, and it's almost Christmas. It's nuts. So I think it's important we do this call a little bit earlier in the month than maybe we would have, because I think that there's more of a mental component to not backsliding this year from what I've noticed. And I want to make sure that we cover that, you know? Um, First thing I'm going to ask you guys, okay, tell me in the chat. This is going to be, I'm sure you've answered this. It's a cheesy ass question. What is your why? What is your why? Like, why are you even trying to figure out how to eat for your body? Like, why does it matter to you to learn about your hormones and to put the effort into not flaring up? Like, what is your why for why you try to feel okay every day? What is your big motivation there for trying to be healthy? Tell me in the chat. We got so I can stop feeling like shit and have energy for life. Okay. I don't want to feel insane anymore. That's a good one. I just want to feel good and stop hating my body every single day. The why is to have more energy, better health, and like my body. And now, if I were to ask you guys why you want that energy, why do you want to like yourself? I know it sounds like a stupid question, but it's sometimes hard to answer, right? Why? Why do you want to feel better? Why do you want energy? I got shit to do. I hear that. I don't want to feel like an alien and detached from my body. That's huge. So I can have a baby, so I can learn how to take care of myself and my body instead of trying to keep health issues at bay. Mm. So I can engage in the things I enjoy and participate in my relationships with people. Yeah. If you feel like absolute garbage, that's not going to be too high on the priority list, right? I think the important part of this and why I bring it up is because when we come to the holiday season, and tell me, put a one in the chat if you ever relate to this. Put a one in the chat where it gets to a point where you're like, what's the point? I'll revisit in the new year. Put a one in the chat if around this time of year it starts to get to a point of what's the point? I'll revisit at a different time. Like I'll revisit in the new year. See a bunch of ones. Yeah, 'cause it's like, it's cozy out. Or in the past, like if it's festive out, if there's parties, if there's emotions, if there's boredom, like a lot of those different things. It's gonna feel like, oh well, the month of November is a wash. The month of December is a wash, right? What's the point of quote unquote being good for a couple of days to then have a bunch of days where you're eating, cornbread all day? Like, so I get it. I've been there. So, what I want to talk about is I want you to think of this example. That if you've been with me for a while, you have heard this before. It's one of my favorites. But let's say you were to spill a little bit of milk. So you were to spill a little bit of milk, right? And instead of cleaning up the milk, you would be like, well, I'm probably going to spill some more tomorrow. So I might as well just spill more now. And instead of cleaning it up, you just dump more milk. There's milk there already, right? All right. And then the next day you come back and now, okay, let's think about this. What's today? Today's what, the third? The fourth. The fourth. Okay. So let's say, so we got 21 days, 21 days from now. If you add a little milk every day for 21 days, you're going to have one milky, messy, smelly ass counter. So when it comes to thinking about what's the point, and allowing one thing to carry on into other things, which we do a lot of times because out of our own, deep down feeling pissed off that we even ate that thing or didn't sleep and stayed up till 3 a.m. scrolling or drank coffee first thing in the morning, whatever it is that, whatever baby step you feel like goes out the window in this weird time, between now and New Year's. It's adding milk to the pile every day that you don't just do what you got to do and get back to the thing that you know helps your body do its best, right? You get back to the process that doesn't screw with you. I think the hard part, and tell me if you agree though, is with our issues and a lot of times this is especially true for those of you who have maybe gotten through the first 6 months and we're now looking at like KGG or we've been with me for years even, right? But I think it's harder when you get to a point where if you eat something you're not going to have an immediate reaction to it. If you don't get sleep one night, you're going to be fine. If you'll bounce back from it because, you were up scrolling late, but whatever. You drink your coffee, you'll be fine. The problem is that it compounds. Every time you do it, it's more milk. It's adding a little bit more milk, right? So that, in my opinion, is harder than if you eat something and it causes a reaction. You have the runs, you get a rash, it's like an immediate, like, boom, don't do this. This is bad. I feel like that's easier, because I don't mean to say bad, but you know what I mean? Like your body tells you, like, I don't like this. This isn't reacting well. It's a lot simpler. So for us, when it's a matter of it, like, compounding and adding little by little and getting more and more, becoming more and more of a problem, especially with insulin resistance, because we know how stubborn that is to change, right? The problem becomes how do we balance not wanting to feel completely restricted and like we're missing out on the holiday season? How do we balance being overwhelmed and having a lot more stuff to do or having a depleted social battery or decision fatigue? How do we balance all of that with also having to make these changes and decisions and swaps and all that stuff? It's a lot. So that's why quote unquote backslide, like this season is very common for that, but it's not because anybody is like undisciplined or it's a shortcoming. It's just a different series of things to look out for and plan for because it's a different time of year than any other time of year. For a lot of us, I should say. Okay, so every time you eat something, this is a tip I have for you guys because actually, sorry, I screwed up the order of my notes. I just realized I jumped the gun. I want to talk about something else first. Your goal is always consistency, balance, sustainability. That is the goal, right? Because when we get into CCA, when all of you come into this, the big overarching goal is that you don't have to sit here and be learning a whole new way to transform your life every year for the rest of your freaking life, right? The goal is to find a way to just kind of live in balance and homeostasis where you could feel better, where you could, if you have a lot of weight on your body that's making you feel ill, where you can take that down without having it become an obsession. Like all of these things are big consistency based goals. So it's really tough. I'm not saying any of this like you guys should be doing like I get that. I get it's really tough, but the goal is always balance, consistency, sustainability, right? Success in baby steps for X amount of time doesn't mean that when you reach a certain point, you can say, I don't need to do them anymore because I've achieved results. And I don't think anybody thinks that like consciously. I don't think, we do that where we're just like, oh, I'm feeling better. I've lost some weight, or I've had a good lab, or I've gotten my period back, or my hair is growing, my skin's clearing, whatever it is that you're noticing, right? Sometimes it's just human nature. It's like when school's out at the end of the school year, right? It's like, woohoo, summertime. Like it's kind of that same bit where if you do it for a certain amount of time and you see that result, it is human nature to go, okay, well, I can relax now. It's the holidays. I don't ever have this. I'm having a craving. I'm just gonna have a bit. Like I've definitely been there. We've all said the things and had the explanations for foods. And it's not bad to want to have balance and have things that you don't have very often. But if every day there's something new that's not hormone friendly that you don't have every day, then that leads to a certain amount of time of just not doing the baby steps or having hormone unfriendly things happening. You're gonna, get to a point, I see it time and time again, and I've done this myself too, where you wake up one day and you're like, oh shit, I'm in a flare. My clothes don't fit. When the hell was my last period? And it sucks to get to that point and then feel like I got to dig my way out again. That's what we don't want to do, right? That's why sustainability, balance, consistency, going slow, trying to learn through steps. That's why that's so important while also being annoying, is because we just want this to be doable. We don't want it to become something we can't wait to take a break from. But that is difficult to unlearn when you've had, probably a lot of us here, decades of being taught differently about food, our bodies, all of that. So, my tip, all of that being said, is from now until New Year's, every time you eat something that you have to explain to yourself somehow, that you have to like justify, that you have to have any kind of like mental dialogue about, put it in a list. Just keep a running list in your notes app. Put a list, put the date. Because then you can look at that and you can be like, okay, when was the last time I had, I'm just making like boba tea, cannolis, zeppelis, garlic bread, I don't know what the hell, I guess we went with the start out Asian and we went Italian, but you know what I mean? Like I keep it in front of you. I have had to do that before many a time to be like, oh, so that's why my blood sugars have been a little bit off. That's why I've been feeling so sluggish lately. That's why I want to rip people's fucking heads off and I'm craving chocolate chips for some reason at 2 a.m. Like I've had to have that list in front of me to be like, got it. And then over time, I've changed my methods so that that list becomes shorter and shorter and more worth it. But if you're noticing, if you feel like you get to a point a lot where backslides kind of smack you in the face out of nowhere and you're like, how did I end up here? Then just start keeping a list of foods that it doesn't matter if they're, like all you have to think about, do I have to explain this to myself at all? Do I have a mental disclaimer? Do I have some kind of explanation, like justification for this? Put it in the list. And then you can see and you can reflect back on it and see how often that's happening. And if it's a pattern, the good news is that there are swaps. There are genuinely delicious swaps out there. Like nobody's trying to make you eat flaxseed and water, to get you hit your macros. Absolutely not. I'd rather live the rest of my days like the bearded lady with no period than be living on flax seeds and fucking bullshit. So, no one's telling you to do that, but I think that there's a balance. What if there are things you think are bad, but they aren't? They aren't. It is just a perfectionist voice in your head. So yeah, that definitely makes sense. It's a really good point. I would put an asterisk next to those specific, like there's going to be things that are right. Like trying to think. Oh, we ordered ice cream from one of my friends came over to eat dinner and then was like ice cream on me, and we ordered from like a really nice like what are they called? Creamery, like a creamer, like ice cream shop nearby. And they delivered it. And so I had some of that, and that was more sugar than I want to be having, especially, I don't know if you guys saw my stories. I got screwed over coming off of my insulin pump. So I am in full blown get my A1C down mode. So I had to put that shit on my list because before you know it, we've been ordering a lot more lately just because things have been crazy. So I always order hormone friendly, but I have my list with the stuff on it so I can refer back to it to be like, I don't want to have a crazy ass week and be like, why am I taking so much insulin? You know? So that being said, if there are things that you're unsure of, if it's like you're just over being like hypercritical of the food, or it might be, hormone unfriendly for you, put an asterisk next to it. And I don't know, look up the carbs on it. Try to find for you what raises that like alarm bell, like what makes it feel like it should be on the list. And if you're truly like, I don't know, this is my brain, text me and we can just like hash it out. So Hillary, so the list, when you're at this point now where it's either the holidays, you've been doing well with baby steps, whatever it might be, and you know that in the past, the backslides have come from like little concessions here and there and here and there, and then they add up over time. So to become more aware of that, just keep a running list in your phone. And if you eat something that you have to like explain to yourself at all, like you justify it, like, oh, I never get to have this, or blah, blah, blah. Just put it in a list so that this way you have something showing you frequency. Just so you can acknowledge it and then go from there. So I think of it, I wrote this example here. I don't know if this is the right place I don't know why I wrote my notes this way, but think of a casino, right? Like when you go and you're playing the slot machines, you're putting a quarter in, right? You're like, what's a quarter? What's a quarter? And then you're almost like not even necessarily maybe even keeping track of how many you put in because that's very common, right? You're just like, whatever, it's a quarter. And then all of a sudden you get payout. Like if you were to get any kind of results, let's say, from doing the baby steps for a certain amount of time. And then you're like, okay, well, let me just put like a quarter in again. Like, let's see if I can get any more. I'll just keep whatever it is I won. And before you know it, you've given it all back. A little bit of quarter here, quarter there, quarter here, quarter there, and now it's gone. I don't know if anyone else goes through that, but that's what has happened to me at the slot machines at a casino. I think they're like made to lure the ADHD in. But I digress. Think about that with different things you're eating. Like this random bun on a burger that isn't even that good. Like how many times, I don't even know specifics. My brain is shot right now. And it's one thing I didn't add to my notes, but don't find little quarters to add to the machine here and there because even though it might feel like you can explain it away, it adds up, it compounds. And you don't want to be in a situation where it's like, you're like, what do I have to show for feeling this way or ending up backsliding again? Like, was it even that good? Was it even that worth it? So then that's where we just got to focus on the habit side of things instead. Because usually it's not. Usually it's like some shitty roll that is just there. Or I don't know. What was it? Someone told me the other day. They went to a restaurant and it was chips. It was like chips and guac. And they were like, the chips were horrible. Like the chips were so stale. You literally had to like really chew them to like get them to disintegrate. And she's like, for some reason, I just ate them. They were there and I ate them. Like certain things like that. Like that shit is not. What did I do? Sorry, I just dropped something very loud on the floor. That's just not worth it, That's just not worth going back on, you know, 3 months of hitting baby steps and now all of a sudden like some shitty stale chip, especially not when delicious food is coming up, typically when the actual holidays are here. And that's what we really want. I'm not saying don't have that stuff. I'm saying don't waste your time and your progress on shit that's not worth it, just because it's there. So now, this is a big one. Oh my God, I hope my voice holds out. Swaps, swapping out things is probably 95% of the reason that I have had any kind of, I hate saying these terms, like success in getting my health back on track. And the reason is because if I want to eat something, I want to eat something. If I want to eat a lot of it, I want to eat a lot of it. If I want to enjoy a certain flavor, I want to enjoy a certain flavor. And that doesn't mean I can't control myself. That means that I by nature will overly control myself to the point of being so restricted it's disordered, and then it'll all come crashing down at some point. And I know a lot of you guys have been through that up and down, another life transformation, another strict diet, just bullshit. Prioritize swaps and make them fun, make them good. Like look at them, look at it as like a how do I make this delicious ass thing, and make it that it doesn't hurt me. That is how I approached it. I If I wanted pizza, if I wanted, again, I guess we're going Italian, like garlic knots. This is just coming to my mind. I made that whole the Pudge page on Facebook. Literally, is just a page of swaps that I was making because I wanted to be able to eat desserts and carby things, and I don't want to have to feel like shit, and I wanted to get the results that I wanted to get. So I think we're so used to just automatically thinking of the swaps as like a less good version, and like oh damn drats, I can't have the real thing. I gotta have this bullshit. But like, of course, if you think about the food you're eating in that way, it's gonna be abysmal. Like that's why I don't make shitty food. I don't make shitty swaps. I make sure it tastes good. And if I make something and it comes out like a fail, like my pumpkin friggin' pie the other day, I just keep trying to zhuzh it up and change it and make it till it's something good. There is no defeat in my eyes when it comes to food. There is only continuing to learn, continuing to play, find new things, and in doing that, you're gonna create a list of foods that you're really like that are your favorites, right? You might not love every single thing that you make, but the swaps that are actually good are going to give you a sense of relief because you don't have to sit there and decide between one or the other. And if you're sitting here going, okay, great, Michelle, but what the hell are those swaps? Text me, and we'll do them one at a time because it's hard, right? It took me years to come up with those recipes for Pudge Page. So the good thing is, just ask me. I'll just give it to you, you know? But smart buns, yeah, Chastity, if they ever come back into freaking stock, oh my God, they're always sold out. It's so annoying, but they are the best. They're so easy. They're so easy, and the texture is so spot on to like it's like a McDonald's bun or like a fast food bun, and they're just there. You put whatever the hell you order on a regular bun on that bun, and you're done. That kind of rhymed a little, but so prioritize swaps about and make them something that you're actually excited about. Try to catch yourself putting that kibosh on it where you're just like, oh, diet food. No, we ain't trying to make it like that. We're just trying to take out and isolate the ingredient in that thing that is screwing us, that is making our hormones act crazy, and trying to eradicate that or get something ready made that takes that out of the picture, like there are so many things out there. People love to make money on people who have dietary issues. So, there's lots of options these days. And that's not even counting like the homemade stuff that I can help you with. And I think the other thing to remember, guys, is when I came up with a lot of those swaps, that was when I was fresh off of getting neck surgery. And that's when my RA was going insane. And I was like laid out for days. If you've ever seen the recipes I give you, I try to make them like as easy as possible. They might not look easy written out, but if you've actually like done them for the most part, I try to keep them pretty much like you don't need a lot of physical strength. And the reason is because I came up with them when I didn't have a lot of physical endurance. I just wanted to be able to eat whatever the hell I wanted to eat, and I didn't want to continue to feel like further shit. So swaps are fun. They're exciting. You get to eat great things and they don't have to make you feel like crap. That was the shift for me with the swaps. So, and I went to culinary school. So please let me utilize the money I spent on that fucking school. You know, to flex my muscles a little bit. Um, what else did I write here? Did I skip something? No. Okay, I got it. And the last thing I'm going to say is mentally, a lot of times when we get to this part of the year, a lot of us get into momentum mode where we're used to just like stressing or struggling, and it's almost like easier to just grit and get through it than to take the minute to stop and find a resource or get support or ask questions or reach out. Like I've definitely been there before where it's like, let me just get through this shitstorm and then I'll regroup. And then we forget, right? It's never the same when it's not in the moment anymore. So this time of year when a lot of us have so many moving parts and a lot of us are depleted because the sun goes down at friggin' 4 o'clock, and things like that. I think it's even more important to remind yourself that if you catch yourself pushing needlessly, it's not a sign of weakness to stop and reach out for that support. You're not being a baby. You're not like this is a chaotic time of year for so many reasons. Don't not reach out for help because it's the difference between struggling on your own and creating all that extra, oh shit, my computer's going to die, and having all that extra cortisol and stress hormones for 2 weeks because you're on your own gritting and bearing it versus 2 hours because you reach out and you get some help processing. Think about all that extra time where your body is out of whack because you're stressing to what look like you don't need help on the outside. Great, what's that doing for you? So as much as we talk about usually the food side of things with the backslide, I really see this time of year that it compounds with the mental side of things, the overwhelm, the stress, the tornado of it all. So just remember, you're not alone. You have the community, you have me, you have the assistant coaches, like there are a lot of people here very excited to talk to you about making things better. So don't hesitate to use that. All right, I cannot plug my computer in right now because this outlet's busted. So my computer's gonna die, but I want you guys to reach out with any questions you have. If anything annoyed you from today, I love it. I love when that happens. Text me about it because that usually leads to some of our like best lessons and convos. So, and I'm here for y'all. And I hope you have a great, weird rest of your December. I mean, I'm going to talk to you next week, but the rest of your holiday season. All right. Bye.